Welcome to part 4. We're now going to look at how to make the radial sun pattern that you see behind the figures and the typography in this poster challenge that we're creating in Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator. So in order to make the radial pattern, we're going to head over to Illustrator. And when I'm in Illustrator, I want to grab from these shape tools here. I want to use the ellipse tool. And when I draw my ellipse, I want to hold down the shift key so that I get a perfect circle. And maybe I'll make it a little smaller. It doesn't need to be that big. Okay, so we're going to start with just like a filled black circle. So if you look at our properties panel, you'll see the fill is black. There is no stroke. And now we're going to draw a second circle. Okay, now with the second circle, it's kind of the opposite. We're going to have, we can do this ahead of time. We're going to have no fill, and we're going to have a black stroke. So what we're going to get there, when we hold down shift again, oops, have to go to select the actual tool, hold down shift, and we get another circle, but this time we can see it's has no fill. It just has a single point stroke to it. In order to line these up and get them perfectly lined up, let's select them both. And once you select two objects, your control panel instantly provides the alignment options. So we're going to click Align Horizontal Center, this icon here with the two rectangles stacked with the line down the middle. All right, so next step, we're going to click on this outer circle here. And when we click on it, our properties panel should pop up. If you don't see properties, as always in Adobe, you can find that under Window. So if you go to Window, you should see properties, and that's got a little tick next to it. Right, so with the properties, we usually just tinker around with these little things. Like we fill things, we put a stroke on things, we change the weight, but you can actually click on these little hyperlinked items like strokes. If you click on the word stroke, you'll see that there's other options that you have here. And the one we're going to take advantage of is the dashed line. So I'm going to click on dashed line, and actually 11 points is good. I'll actually start with that. I think that should work pretty well. So I'm going to have an 11-point dash, and we're going to change, instead of a 1-point stroke, we're actually going to change this to a 100-point stroke. But I'm going to click outside here, and we see that it instantly adds that thickness and it tapers towards this inner circle here. I could still push this a little further, which I'd like to. So I'm going to go back to stroke, and I'm going to actually, I can just click up on my, push the up arrow. And as I push the up arrow, it continues to add more weight. Excuse me. Cats. Okay, so I can increase the stroke weight. I can also continue to change how big the dashes are. And again, I can go with the down key on my keyboard. If I keep going down, so there's, sorry, I'll move my mouse. 7 points. There's 6 points. There's 5. See, the raise or the radial aspect gets narrower, it gets finer. So it's up to you, like how thick or how fine you want it to be. For me, I feel like 11 should be pretty good. But so once I'm done with that, I can actually delete this middle piece here. And I just kind of I don't need the whole thing. I just need the top sort of, in order to slice this large spiral pattern in half, because I only need really the top half of it to bring back to the poster. I need to do a couple steps here. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to select it by just drawing a box there. Now it's selected. And because I want to change this object into just a single object instead of like a bunch of strokes that are all combined, I need to go up here to Object and click on Expand. All right, once I click Expand, it's going to ask me, do you want to expand both the fill and the stroke? Yes, I do. I'm going to hit OK. Great. Now Illustrator sees this as like one unified object. All right, now because we want to be able to slice this and take part of it over to Photoshop, we actually now have to ungroup it. So we can right click and choose Ungroup. Fantastic. And then with our eraser tool over here, we can actually, by holding shift, draw a perfect line. Try that again. Sometimes it doesn't like that. There we go. Draw a perfect line right through this, and it's going to slice through the middle here. Now if I grab my black selection tool and I just draw here, I should be able to, there we go, perfect. So I should be able to just grab and move the top half of the spiral, which is the part I really want for the poster. Just before I move this back to Photoshop, I'm going to group this again. So right click and group. So now it's treated as a group. I'm going to copy this. So Control C or Command C if you're on the Mac. Head back over to Photoshop. And I'm going to hit Control V to paste. It's going to ask me, how do you want to paste it? Just as we did with the silhouette earlier. I'm going to paste it as a smart object. All right, there it is. Okay, now I've got my nice little silhouette pattern. I can, of course, stretch it. It's a smart object, meaning it's still behaving as a vector. It's going to maintain all that beautiful resolution. Obviously, right now, it doesn't look at all how we want it to look, but I'm setting it in place. I'm going to hit Enter here, and I'm going to look at my layer, my layer order, and I see that I've got the sun rays on top. So clearly, I need to drag that below so it's under. And the next step is going to be the coloring and also a little bit of layer mask work that we're going to do. Stay tuned. Part 5 coming up.